Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. I'm Sarah, and if you're new here, we're so glad to have you.
And I'm John. Today, we're diving into a topic that has changed the financial perspective of millions of people around the world. We're talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the iconic book by Robert Kiyosaki. Whether you've read it or not, the ideas in this book have made a huge impact on how people think about money, success, and financial independence.
Exactly. And if you haven't read the book yet, don't worry. By the end of today's episode, you'll have a good understanding of what Rich Dad, Poor Dad is all about. We're going to discuss the key ideas, compare the contrasting mindsets of the Rich Dad and Poor Dad, and talk about how you can apply these concepts to your own life.
Yeah, this book isn't just for people looking to get rich quick. It's about building a strong foundation for financial freedom over time. So let's start by looking at the most basic, but arguably the most important contrast in the book: the difference in the way Rich Dad and Poor Dad view money.
Right. So, to break it down simply, Poor Dad follows the traditional approach. He believes in working hard, getting good grades, securing a stable job, and saving money. His mindset is all about job security, making sure he has a regular paycheck to rely on. He doesn't see much beyond the monthly salary.
Exactly. And because Poor Dad follows this conventional path, he also sees financial stability as being tied to a good education and a stable job. He thinks that the more you work, the more you can save, and that's what leads to financial security. And in many ways, that's how many people in society view wealth building. Hard work and a steady income are the keys to success.
But then you have Rich Dad, and this is where it gets interesting. Rich Dad sees money differently. He believes that working for money is not the key to wealth. Instead, the key is learning how to make money work for you. It's all about financial education, taking calculated risks, and using your money to create passive income streams.
And this is a mindset shift that can be difficult for a lot of people to adopt. The idea that you need to invest in things that will generate income, like real estate or stocks, rather than just working harder at your job and saving. Rich Dad also talks a lot about understanding assets and liabilities, which we'll get into in just a second.
Yeah, let's talk about assets versus liabilities, because this is one of the book's most powerful concepts. Poor Dad sees a house as an asset, but Rich Dad challenges that, saying that a house is actually a liability unless it generates income for you, like rental income, for example.
Exactly. If you're paying a mortgage on your home, maintaining it, and paying property taxes, then that house is actually costing you money. In contrast, if you were to invest in a property that you can rent out and earn rental income from, then it becomes an asset in Rich Dad's eyes.
It's all about perspective, right? A lot of people think buying a house is an automatic step toward building wealth. But if it's draining your resources without providing any return, then it's more of a liability than an asset.
And this concept isn't just about houses. It extends to everything we spend money on. If you're buying a car that depreciates in value, that's another example of a liability. But if you were to buy an investment that appreciates in value, like stocks or a business, those are assets.
Right. So many people fall into the trap of thinking that owning things like a house or car makes them wealthy. But in reality, wealth is built by acquiring assets that generate income. And Rich Dad stresses that you should focus on building a portfolio of assets, not liabilities.
That's a major mindset shift. And one of the biggest reasons people struggle with this is because of fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of losing money. Poor Dad is driven by fear of failure, fear of risk, and that's why he sticks to the safe, traditional path.
Right. And Rich Dad teaches that fear shouldn't hold you back. Instead, it's about managing risk and being comfortable with making mistakes. Rich Dad sees mistakes as opportunities for growth. If you make an investment and it doesn't work out, as long as you learn from it and don't make the same mistake again, you're still moving forward.
And there's nothing wrong with getting a good education. It's definitely important. But the truth is, formal education doesn't teach us how to manage our finances, how to invest, or how to create wealth. It's a very different skill set.
Exactly. And Rich Dad encourages us to seek out mentors, read books, listen to podcasts, and dive into resources that teach us about money and investing. Poor Dad, on the other hand, doesn't focus on this kind of education. He believes you just need to work hard and get good grades in school, and the rest will follow.
And there's nothing wrong with getting a good education. It's definitely important. But the truth is, formal education doesn't teach us how to manage our finances, how to invest, or how to create wealth. It's a very different skill set.
Right. And that's why Rich Dad suggests seeking financial independence, which isn't about having a high-paying job. It's about creating multiple streams of income, building your financial knowledge, and then using that to make smart investments.
Speaking of income streams, another key concept in the book is the idea of having multiple sources of income. Rich Dad talks about how relying on one paycheck can leave you vulnerable if something unexpected happens, like a job loss or a health crisis.
Yes. That's why building passive income is so crucial. Whether it's through investments, real estate, or owning a business, Rich Dad teaches that you should never rely on just one source of income. Diversifying your income streams is one of the best ways to create financial security and freedom.
It's also about taking control of your financial future. Rich Dad believes that financial independence isn't about luck. It's about making conscious, educated decisions about where you put your money and how you grow it.
I couldn't agree more. So, let's wrap up today's discussion with some key takeaways from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. First off, it's all about shifting your mindset. The way you view money can completely change the way you approach wealth building.
Second, financial education is crucial. Don't just rely on the traditional path of getting a good job. Take the time to learn about money, investing, and how to make your money work for you.
Third, focus on acquiring assets and minimizing liabilities. A house is not automatically an asset. Think critically about where you put your money.
And lastly, don't be afraid to take risks, but make sure those risks are calculated. Learn from your mistakes and keep improving.
So, we hope today's conversation sparked some new ideas for you. If you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we'd love to hear your thoughts and how it's impacted your approach to money. Do you relate more to Rich Dad or Poor Dad?
And if you haven't read the book yet, we definitely recommend checking it out. It might just change the way you think about money and wealth building.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode.